The allies have lifted all restrictions. Ramstein is switching to turbo mode. The West is arming Ukraine to the teeth. The Kremlin is on the verge of hysteria. And Made in Ukraine is launching the production of AI-powered super drones in our country that hunt the enemy from a distance of 1,600 kilometers. A double game on the verge of exploding. Trump is preparing Tomahawks for Ukraine while simultaneously negotiating a meeting with Putin. I'll share all the details in just a moment. Hello, this is Ukraine Today. I'm Victoria Panchenko, and here are the latest events. Ramstein is gaining momentum over $1 billion. That is the amount partners will spend on new weapons orders for Ukraine. This was reported by Ukraine's Minister of Defense, Denis Shmyhal.
New contributions to the PORL initiative total at least $422 million. More than half of NATO member countries have already made or declared contributions to PORL. New contributions for purchases from the Ukrainian industry amount to $715 million. Norway is allocating $600 million for UAVs, electronic warfare systems, and explosives. The Netherlands is providing $106 million for strike and reconnaissance UAVs. Canada is allocating $8 million for interceptor drones. Iceland is contributing $4 million under the Danish model.
Let me remind you that PORL is a list of Ukraine's priority defense needs, which is compiled by Ukrainian military personnel together with NATO representatives. It specifies exactly which weapon systems, equipment, ammunition, technologies, or other resources are needed by the Ukrainian Armed Forces in the near future. At the same time, partners have announced new military aid packages. For example, Sweden is allocating.
The United States has committed $8 billion to support Ukraine's security in 2026 to 2027. This aid package is intended to procure components for missiles and other military equipment. Furthermore, Portugal is contributing $12 million to the British Fund for purchasing weapons for Ukraine. In addition, Finland is preparing its 13th military aid package, demonstrating its commitment to assisting Ukraine's defense.
Notably for Ukraine, not only will weapons be purchased, but also ultra-powerful and ultra-precise weapons will be produced right here in our country. In particular, we're talking about an American-Ukrainian analog of the Shahed drone with AI and self-guidance capable of reaching 1,600 kilometers.
Autari, together with the U.S. Department of Defense and other partners, is moving on to the scaling-up phase. This phase is aimed at joint large-scale production. Production lines are being built in Ukraine, the United States, and Germany. And the established partnerships with manufacturers make it possible to continue scaling up production.
Moreover, this Iron Bird has already proven its effectiveness on Russian territory. The company has published a single image of the drone designated as the Deep Strike Artemis ALM-20. In terms of aerodynamic design, it does indeed resemble the Shahed 136, but this solution appeared quite some time ago. It is noted that the drone has a nose camera, additional antennas, and apparently an electric motor, which is quite unusual for long-range drones. The main feature of the drone is its navigation and targeting system based on the onboard Skynote N computer from Auterion. As noted, it allows the drone to target and strike even if satellite navigation fails and provides the highest accuracy during the final stage of flight. Moreover, it is likely that smaller versions of this drone have already been publicly demonstrated in Ukraine. In particular, at the beginning of December 2024, during the visit to Ukraine by then German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, a very similar analog of the Shahed drone was shown for the first time. Its size probably does not physically allow it to fly 1,600 kilometers with a 45-kilogram payload, but it may be a junior member of the Artemis drone family. In March, the 12th Special Forces Brigade Azov demonstrated the combat use of these small drones for the first time. Notably, the Netherlands has also launched a military production line for Ukraine. An army of robots is on the way. Combat vehicles are already being assembled in the country. The Kremlin is in a panic, and that's not all. The Netherlands is equipping Ukraine with Tomahawks. A decisive step, the country is encouraging others to follow suit. Weapons for the Ukrainian Armed Forces that make the enemy's blood run cold at the front. No one expected such a flow of arms. This changes everything dramatically. The first details are coming up right now in the report.
Ukraine's partners in Europe continue to provide assistance to Ukraine in its war with Russia. We see that this is criminal aggression and Russia must be held accountable for it. The courts need to take up this matter. This criminal aggression must end. The killings must stop. To achieve this, we must continue to pressure Russia with sanctions. We must do everything possible to enable Ukraine to defend itself from these attacks on the ground and in the air.
New steps in defense partnership with Ukraine. The Netherlands will contribute 50 million euros to the World Bank to support Ukraine.
We are doing everything possible to support Ukraine, and we are doing it not just in words but in action. Today we are announcing that the Netherlands will contribute 55 million euros to the World Bank. In order for the World Bank to help Ukraine, it must cover the costs of recovery and reforms. Your struggle, our struggle.
The Netherlands and Ukraine will continue to cooperate on joint defense projects. The focus is on joint production of Ukrainian equipment in the Netherlands.
The Netherlands and Ukraine have agreed to work together on drone manufacturing. We will continue to provide support with military equipment, F-16 fighter jets, other systems and weapons.
The Netherlands was one of the first countries to agree to transfer its F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. The first planes were delivered to Ukraine in 2024. Washington is currently considering transferring Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. In addition to the US, these missiles are not only possessed by the UK and Australia, but also by the Netherlands. The Kremlin is seriously on edge. The propaganda outlet Izvestia even sent a letter to the Dutch diplomatic mission in Moscow asking about the possibility of transferring Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine.
In a very recent letter to the parliament, the government officially stated that, given Ukraine's continuously ongoing and significant high needs on the one hand, and the truly pressing security interests of the whole of Europe and the Netherlands on the other, the cabinet has carefully decided to allocate substantial additional funding. Regardless of whether the Dutch government discloses information about the supplies being delivered, the Ministry of Defense is guided by the principle of operational security, as well as the interests of third parties involved in the deliveries.
According to the Russian Telegram channel Two Majors, the US Navy has received State Department approval to purchase about 200 Tomahawk land attack missiles in various versions for the Netherlands under the Foreign Military Sales (FMS) program. The total cost of the program is estimated at $2.19 billion. The transfer of the missiles to the Netherlands aligns with the new rules under which Europe purchases weapons from the US for Ukraine, remind the Two Majors. One question remains: when can we expect the first use? Meanwhile, it has already been openly stated that the Dutch Ministry of Defense has signed an agreement with the Estonian company Milrem Robotics and battery manufacturer Tulip Tech for joint production of defense equipment. The company will supply Ukraine with more than 150 unmanned ground vehicles.
It is an honor for us to lead this project in partnership with the Netherlands and VDL. The SAMIS platform has already proven its value in combat conditions, and we believe that this contribution will significantly strengthen Ukraine's defense capabilities.
The cooperation is structural in nature and is planned to last for at least 10 years. In the coming months, new production lines are scheduled to be launched. In addition, Milrem Robotics will conduct comprehensive training for Ukrainian operators to ensure effective deployment and maintenance in the field. The new units will complement the 15 Demise vehicles that are already in operation in Ukraine and have been proving their effectiveness on the battlefield since 2022.
This vehicle is ready to carry 700 to 700. It can handle a payload of 750 kilograms, and it can be used not only for transporting the wounded and handling logistics, but also as a combat chassis, since it can be equipped with both machine guns and automatic cannons.
The Demise is an unmanned transport platform designed to support the armed forces, logistics, reconnaissance, and combat support. Currently, the system is part of robotics programs and is operated in 19 countries, including 8 NATO members.
The Netherlands is one of the most principled defenders of life. It is a country that truly supports our defense, our resilience, and, which is also important, our efforts to achieve justice.
The Netherlands has also allocated 300 million euros for the restoration and strengthening of Ukraine during 2025 to 2026. Of this amount, 52 million euros will be allocated to energy infrastructure and water supply. Since 2022, the country has allocated 26 billion euros to Ukraine, of which 13.6 billion has been directed toward military support. The Netherlands and its allies continue to support Ukraine in its fight for freedom and security.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
While Western partners are ramping up military aid and setting up production lines for arming Ukraine, Trump is also keeping pace and is already sending super missiles directly to the front. Everything is being decided right now. The US will test not only Tomahawks in Ukraine, but other weapons as well. Moscow is in the danger zone. Where will the armed forces of Ukraine aim their missiles first? Watch right now for all the explosive details.
A question that had long gone unanswered has finally been resolved. How can Ukraine launch Tomahawks if these are primarily sea-based missiles? This problem no longer exists. The solution was provided by the American arms company Oshkosh Defense. As it became known, this year at the annual AUSA 2025 Arms Exhibition, the company presented 3 new products at once. These are mobile vehicles for launching medium and long-range missiles. The largest one, the Oshkosh HMF, is designed to launch Tomahawk strikes from land.
This system was handed over to the Marine Corps, which used it experimentally to determine whether it was convenient to use and whether they should expand their arsenal with such launchers.
By the way, the XMAV is not the only solution for launching Tomahawks from land. Earlier, the US introduced the Typhoon missile system, which became the first US long-range missile launcher after withdrawing from the Intermediate-Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. As practice has shown, the system is reliable. However, for the conditions of the war in Ukraine, it is not the best solution.
These are Mark 41 launch containers. They are pointed upward and then fire in almost the same way as from a submarine or a warship. And you can see how large and bulky they are. And it would be quite impractical to send these launchers, which are not available in large numbers, to Ukraine. It would be fairly easy for Russia to track these missiles back to their launch sites and strike not only the launcher, but all the supporting equipment around it as well.
But the XMAV systems are a completely different story. Its exact specifications have not yet been disclosed. The new system has only just been presented to the general public. However, it can already be said with confidence that this is a much more mobile system, which greatly reduces the chances of being hit by return fire. At the same time, the system is also equipped with the capability to operate remotely.
This is an autonomous vehicle that can also be controlled remotely, like in a video game using a special joystick. Our Marines are already quite familiar with this. It can also be used as a transport vehicle that moves in a convoy. So you have one leader and the other vehicles follow it in convoy mode. The most important thing is that it's mobile and has a proven durable chassis. At the same time, it can carry several payloads at once for long-range fire support.
Meanwhile, headlines in the world media are already filled with insider reports from Washington. For example, the Financial Times writes that Ukraine may soon receive up to 50 Tomahawk missiles. At the same time, the minimum number allegedly being considered for delivery is several dozen.
This is a missile that can fly very close to the Earth's surface. It has an effective terrain following scanning mode. It has a fairly large warhead, almost 500 kilograms. And out of all the missiles that are currently ready and available, the Lunata is the most powerful. It is the most powerful missile, the longest range and the most powerful.
It has also become known that Donald Trump has confirmed a planned meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky as soon as this coming Friday, October 17th. The key topic will be the supply of Tomahawks and their launches. Considering that the West has already used Ukraine more than once to test its advanced weaponry, it is possible that the XMAV will undergo its first combat trial, specifically under the supervision of the Ukrainian Armed Forces.
The key is not even the weapon itself. The key is the platform that enables its use. That's what needs to be discussed right now.
Meanwhile, Western analysts are already competing to compile lists of possible Tomahawk targets in Russia. The most reckless of these is a strike on the Kremlin. Other top targets include the Crimean Bridge and military facilities across Russia.
Let's take Odessa as an example of a launch point. It's not certain that the launchers will be placed there, but just as an example, here we have 2,500 kilometers. That's far beyond Moscow. This covers the European part of Russia and even Nizhny Tagil, where the legendary tank factory is located, which produces the T-72 and now the T-90, as well as a huge number of other targets that would fall within the strike zone.
It's also worth noting that the further the issue of transferring Tomahawks to Ukraine progresses, the more panic grows inside Russia. This indirectly proves that these threats are too much for Russian air defense to handle. This time, the Kremlin publicly made Lukashenko take the heat. He has already declared that if the missiles are transferred, a nuclear war will begin. However, just like in the fable about the boy who cried wolf, no one has believed the threats of the mustachioed boy for a long time. No one believes them.
Well, while the Tomahawks are on their way, it seems Trump is once again trying to sit on two chairs at once. The US president announced that he had agreed with Putin to meet in Hungary. The summit could take place within the next 2 weeks.
President Putin and I will later meet at an agreed location in Budapest, Hungary, to try to put an end to this shameful war between Russia and Ukraine.
For his part, the pro-Russian Orban is pleased about the Trump-Putin meeting taking place in his country. The Prime Minister of Hungary stated that he is ready to host the summit of the US and Russian leaders in Budapest.
The planned meeting between the presidents of America and Russia is great news for peace-loving people all over the world.
Notably, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and his team were surprised by US President Donald Trump's statement about reaching an agreement with Vladimir Putin to hold a new meeting in Hungary. And what do you think? Will Ukraine receive Tomahawk missiles from the US? We look forward to your comments. More to come. Stay up to date with the main news and hit like under the video. Wishing you peaceful skies above.